Christ. Yeah, that was bad. Well, so
The
world.
That's what it's all about. You've got to groove on freedom, like the good book says.
When you look at everything that has occurred with Barb's passing, with the whole, coronavirus agenda,
Modelonoma.
and, with what I know I need to do in this whole thing, in this whole crisis, for me, the number one thing and the best thing for me to be focusing my efforts right now on, with where my head is at and with the trauma that I have undergone, is working on the documentary. Because so many people have given me generous donations to finish that project that I feel like I have to honor that first and foremost, even before doing the show again and giving my perspective on the events that have happened. We lost our editor in this process, and that has set things back with the documentary. So I think I need to get the documentary worked on and finished before anything else, because this was
Everybody wants to see it.
3/4 done, and we put out a rough cut, at the conference in the fall. Mm-hmm. And then when things, fell apart from that, and that hurt me financially, I put out the word that I needed donations to complete this, and people really responded well and are responding well regarding that. So we have a budget for this natural law documentary, and I'm telling you, we now have somebody that's going to come on and who is very serious about taking on the lead editing role to finish this. Mm-hmm. So
do you have an end date?
I have
in mind, like our launch date?
No, I don't have an end date. I don't want to promise anybody anything. We're now projecting optimistically the end of the summer. Okay. So, but I'm going to say definitely by the end of 2020. I said it would come out in 2020. We're going to try to stick to our guns with that and release it by
the end Tokyo Olympics for the summer might be in the winter.
The rough cut was the end of 2019. we want to release this near the end of 2020 at the latest.
Okay.
I'm going to say summer, maybe end of summer 2020, before fall hits. That's my optimistic release date. Okay. There is significant work to be done as far as some audio cleanup, some changes as far as visuals need to be made.
Do we need more people?
No.
Whiz bang? No. If some whiz bang super guy wants to fucking
we have a good video editor who's come on board. After our last editor our last editor got a full-time job. I don't know if they're working right now, but they have another job now, and they don't need this work.
Okay.
So unfortunately, that editor was, quote, lost or
Didn't
not.
Work.
Yeah,
Didn't work out.
right. But we have a very dedicated editor on board now.
Great.
So the project is in good hands technically.
Yeah.
What we need to do is just, basically allocate the time to finishing this, and I think that's going to be done, and I think we're going to get this done in the next few months. So
that'd be great.
That's the That's the optimistic timeline.
If we can, just to follow on that while we're already talking. Strike while the iron's hot. Everybody's stuck at home, wants to watch shit on the internet. Not enough content out there. What are your thoughts on why we need to pause for a little bit?
Oh, there's plenty of content out there. Just go to consend.org. That's the first and foremost one. Unblockit.one. That'll give you all the blocked sites that aren't indexed by the internet, by internet search engines. See, that's what people don't realize. That's what the dark web is. You know,
the internet that Google doesn't show you.
Yeah. See, they think the dark web is this innocuous or conspiratorial or this weird.
It's just the fucking not easy to find
it's
parts.
Not indexed by the search engines. That's the dark web. That's what
you're saying. It's not on the government registry.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they don't want you to find. So go to unblockit.one. Unblockit.one. All the non-indexed sites are up there. That if you search for the content that's on those sites, you're not going to find them in Google or DuckDuckGo, or even
but the
what's
top,
the other privacy one?
Bing.
No, the other one.
Fucking a start page.
Start page.
But they're basically all Google files.
They're not going to show you that
even
on
DuckDuckGo
all
has
those
been getting more
indexes.
Google
Yeah, of
lately,
course,
and
it's terrible.
Shitty,
It's terrible.
It's like this.
Yeah.
We're a privacy engine. Okay, whatever.
Well, see, the thing with DuckDuckGo is they're saying they don't store your search results, but they make no claims about what they're keeping from you.
That's true.
From finding.
But to be fair, how do you prove what you don't have?
Unblockit.one. Yeah,
There's plenty of other shit out there.
Unblockit.one.
Can you blame them for not indexing stuff that's basically 100% illegal?
Here's one. Libgen, libgen.is. Library Genesis. Libgen.is. Any book that you're looking for, you're probably going to find there. Almost every book of any consequence in the world is indexed at libgen.is. How about that one?
What's the IS top level domain? Is that some island? Is that some?
No, it's just for Library Genesis.
No. But .is like as a top level domain. What country owns that?
I don't know. Haven't looked into it.
.is TLD. Let's see. It is .is Iceland.
Iceland. Libgen.is. Yeah. Okay, so there's one that'll blow people's minds if you know how to use that search engine. Look up any book, any author, any title, and that's the dark web. That's part of the dark web. Learn how to use Tor, learn how to use BitTorrent.
Mark,
people
you're
don't know.
They
don't know these things. Yeah.
Why aren't we making content?
We're not making content because
why not right now?
I'm psychologically
impaired,
healing at this point. I'm not making content. Plenty of people are making content.
This is content.
There's good content. There's very good content being made, actually.
You see the bit that Ike referenced.
David Icke's been doing phenomenal work.
He referenced that one doctor who did that. Like
Mark Devlin's been doing great stuff.
That hour presentation that Ike referenced.
Yeah, of course.
Who does that? It's fucking phenomenal.
London Real.
But he in one of his earlier videos referenced this guy who did like an hour and a half long, like the current state of testing, I think it's called, or something like that.
Yeah. Dr. Shiva, or what was the other guy?
It was a bunch of doctors and the guys like MIT biological degree, like it's like phenomenal, and he's just like
there's plenty of good people.
He breaks down.
Health
they're just testing
field.
For a result of a thing that your body produces, given some.
There was a great German doctor at the very beginning of this whole nonsense who really put out some great videos about how this wasn't being told the truth about.
Died with it versus died of it.
Right, that too.
Huge difference. Even Italy is like, only 12% of the deaths we reported to the JHU.
Right.
Data set was actually died from COVID as opposed to died with COVID. So it's like the numbers are all bumped.
Tell people that InfoWars producers talked to me recently. They want me back on the show. I'm going to try to set something up with them soon and go on there and give my take on what's been happening. I have to gently ease myself back into this because after all the things that happened to me in late 2019 and early 2020, I've taken a huge hit psychologically, emotionally, and I'm really trying to do my best to work my way through these in ways that are healthy and not
Like drinking a bunch of
self-destructive.
beer.
Well, I'm having a couple of beers with you right now, and it's
sorry.
no, it's good because we're talking and working through some things.
Exactly.
But the thing is it's been a very difficult, rough time for me, and it won't be forever. It won't be much longer. But I need to process some things personally, and it's made me take a step back and realize, hey, a lot of people have had traumas like this in their life, and it's like you have to realize this is where a lot of people are at. It's a lot of people.
Mark, wait, are you talking about empathy?
Well, no, I'm talking about that. A lot of people have been through things in their life that they can't necessarily immediately process and need some time to process.
And it takes a while before
Right.
you, as somebody else, can even begin to realize that someone else could have experienced this. Like,
I have
and
I
how-
have thought of it, but
Of course,
this has made me
it's sympathy
it's
versus
hit
empathy.
home harder, where it's made me really think deeply about that in other people. But the other part of it is the harder aspect of it is it also makes me think how many people who I thought really understood things don't necessarily understand the real deep teachings of this message, because they're like, oh, because people are sick or because we're encountering this crisis, oh, then we need to give up our freedom or our liberty. And it's like, hey, I could say the same thing about lots of things. I could say, hey, my best friend in life, my former life partner, somebody who I consider like got my
Share
worldview
everything with.
and I could talk
Yeah.
about anything with, passed away from, doing substance.
Overindulgence.
Right, an overindulgence in substance that was still their right, but hey, they gambled and they lost, and it's a terrible, terrible thing, and it is the real epidemic. It's the real pandemic in this country, right? But guess what? Then what kind of a hypocrite would I be if I said,
right.
oh, make all drugs illegal and hardcore go after and prosecute
The
people?
lines over here
Right,
instead.
no.
Or- yeah.
It's still
That's the fucking point. You don't win.
it's still your body. It's still your right.
My body, my choice.
You can your body, your choice. You can gamble and lose. You can gamble and win. It doesn't make a difference. It's your body is your property. That's the principle. The principle is if you give up that liberty, if you give up that freedom, then your body becomes someone else's property.
And if you don't own you, what do you own?
That's right. You own yourself.
Period.
You have to be responsible for it. And hey, hindsight is 20/20. You could look at a million different factors that go into things regarding, drug use, addiction, overdose,
Self-disrespect and so on and so
all
forth.
of it,
Yeah.
all of
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
But it comes down to our personal responsibility, our rights, our property, our body. The end.
need
the end.
the-
And I would be a hypocrite
Yes.
if I stated anything other than that. So, with that in mind, I'm going to dedicate the Natural Law documentary when it comes out to Barb's memory. I want to thank James Yeager, who recently finished the whole production of Unsustainable, a documentary that I was interviewed for, who dedicated it to Barb and another friend of his who passed away, which I thought was very nice of James to do.
Oh, Christ. Yeah, that was right. Well, so the world, crazy fucking place. This is me producing a podcast right now for Mark Passio.
Yeah, we're sitting here just talking and chatting and
nonsense.
having a beer together and, musing on things, because it's been a very rough time period for everybody, and it's really made me reconsider. It's made me realize how much the occult controllers really have a hold on people and totally have people's minds, even more so than I thought, even more so than I thought that they had. And seeing where they have people, it's a terrible, terrible thing. I knew that they had people under mind control, but this even made me realize they have people way deeper in their control than I even ever thought. And that's a terrible thing for me to say, because I knew how bad it was to a certain extent, but this made me realize even people who claim to be awake and claim to understand what's going on, most of them have no fucking idea what's going on whatsoever. And really, as soon as any type of crisis or situation that strikes fear into their heart has come into their consciousness, they fold their cards immediately. And that's not what this is about. That's not what it ever should have been about. I'm so disappointed in people. I'm so disappointed in where most people's minds are at when it comes to principles versus what they consider pragmatic situations. You never fold your principles. Ever. Ever. Principles come first. And you have to be an extremist regarding principles. Because if you don't have principles, you have nothing. You have nothing. And people don't understand that. They don't understand principles come before everything else, including life. Freedom comes before everything else, including life. It isn't life, freedom, property. Life, liberty, property. It's freedom, life, property. That's the correct order, ladies and gentlemen. Because, let me explain why that's the case. If there's any absolute hardcore message in this little video, this is it. Freedom comes before life itself. Anybody who's afraid of any of this crap that's going on, any of this crap that's being sold to us, regardless of what you want to think it is, I'm not even going to get into all of that right now. I'll talk about that when I come back on the air. Okay? If you put even life before freedom, you have the answer incorrect. You have the order incorrect. It's freedom comes before life, and here's why. Life without freedom isn't worth living, because life without freedom is slavery. And that's what most of the people who even claim that they are people in the freedom movement, that they are people who are trying to advocate for freedom and are in the movement for more freedom and less control and less government, still do not understand. You have to shed your fear of death. The fear of death is the beginning of slavery. Life in slavery is not worth living. That's why freedom, the principle of freedom, comes before life itself. Most people don't understand that concept. Most people are so fearful and attached to life that they would give up freedom to have safety. And I'm telling you, no amount of safety is worth the loss of freedom. No amount of even health is worth the loss of freedom. Dangerous, unhealthy freedom is still more important than a life where you are perfectly safe and perfectly healthy and enslaved. That's an extreme understanding of freedom that most people still don't have, and that's the problem, is that most people still don't have that understanding of freedom. Freedom is more important than health. Freedom is more important than safety. Freedom is more important than any other principle. Because if you don't have freedom, life is not worth living, because you are a slave and you are enslaved if you don't have freedom. And this is what people in the so-called freedom movement still don't understand, because as soon as some crisis comes down that threatens their safety or health, they're immediately willing to sacrifice their freedom in the name of safety or health. And I'm telling you, you have to be willing to die. You have to be, not only you have to be willing to die, you need to have such a deep understanding of freedom, and such a healthy respect for freedom itself, for the principles that underlie freedom, that you would have the mindset that you would be willing to literally sacrifice the life of everyone in the name of freedom. That if you said, if freedom is going away, that would not be worth every life on the planet Earth. If you don't have that level of understanding of freedom, you don't understand what it means. And I'll look at each and every one of you right in the eyes and tell you that right to your face. And anybody that doesn't have that understanding of freedom, you're no friend of mine. Get that through your head. Understand that and really deeply process what I've said there. Because if you don't understand that level of freedom, you haven't understood one fucking thing I've said since day one on what on earth is happening. Not a fucking thing. That's what it means to understand true freedom, ladies and gentlemen. That freedom comes before life. That's what the phrase liberty or death means. Liberty or death, freedom or death. It doesn't matter how you want to word it. Okay? Freedom has to come before life itself.